Should we start off by talking about this work with Maxis and what was the need internally? Why did this company decide to do it, and what's really the campaign about? So maybe you can share with us exactly what this is all about.
Right, absolutely. Early this year, when we decided to do our youth tour again, our agency decided to say, let's do something more meaningful. This organization by the name of MARA, M-A-R-A, they have about 45 campuses all over the country. And they are very much catered to the Malay youth, aged between 18 and 24. The Malay youth market is a very big market. It's about 60% of the entire youth population. We kind of figured that, hey, perhaps it's good to reach out to these people. Looking back at a lot of case studies, a lot of examples that we have got, nothing much has been actually done on the Malay youth, especially the suburban and the rural market. Of course, a lot of things, a lot of activation and a lot of roadshows and promotions, events, campaigns are being done among the urban youth in Malaysia. So we decided, hey, let's give this a shot. People talk about youth innovation, people talk about youth entrepreneurship. That's where we decided to say, hey, let's do something about social innovation. We designed the entire module called the Social Innovation 2.0 module. From there, we took it on and bring it on to Maxis.
For those that don't know, Malaysia is not all Malay. Malay is one ethnic group within Malaysia. You've got, about 65% of the population's Malay, and the rest is ethnic Chinese and a mix of other races? Yeah?
Indians. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. That's quite an important feature of marketing profiles in Malaysia, isn't it? Because there seems to be a lot of marketing geared towards specific ethnic segments, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you devised this Social Innovation 2.0 module. What exactly is that?
This Social Innovation 2.0 module is basically social innovation, leveraging on technology. What we wanted to do was to trigger the creativity of these young people and to generate ideas. Let me just give you an example. When we were in one of the campuses, I remember when we first talked about innovation, the first thing that came to their mind was innovation of submarines and machine guns, high-tech stuff, robotic stuff. We have to get back them to the ground and say, hey, look, yes, but that is more of an invention, not an innovation. So how we actually trigger them around innovation was, put your hand close to your heart and touch your hand and ask yourself, what is the thing that is closest to your heart that you want to make change? And then there comes, the sentiments of young people wanting to change the world, because apparently that's what our education system teaches how to think, right? So we said, no, look, if there's one change that you can really do, is the change within yourself. And they kind of start to really understand it from there. They start to think of things like stress, studies in campus, what are their problems that they are facing, even right now the attendance taking, right down to their libraries, The word innovation suddenly became very relevant to these young people. After that comes the solution part. What we wanted to do was for the young people to creatively innovate ideas or solutions that could bring about positive impact socially or within their community. So come to the solution part, we actually ask them, look, what are the 3 things that you don't leave home without? So here comes, answers like, okay, wallet, there's 1, and then your house keys, car keys, there's 2, and then, of course, the most common answer that everybody answered in a very unison voice was the mobile phone. That's where we told them, look, can you imagine if you can create a solution and you can very simply, don't have to complicate the solution into robotics and submarines, but very, very simplistically, that solution has got something to do with the mobile phone as the enabler.
So how does this module work? You go onto campuses, gather young people together, and what's the mechanics of it?
The first phase was actually a 2-day workshop. What we did was, in a day 1 was all about, we give them a lot of time to really brainstorm, trigger their thoughts, come up with ideas, and then we break them into groups of 10, and then from that 10, narrow down the ideas from 10 to 3, and then to the 1 idea that everybody can come to a consensus on. And then the very interesting part actually in the first day is actually what we did was, we told them that, look, you can have the most brilliant idea now, but if you tell your friend about this idea and they don't understand, or rather they don't buy into that idea, there's no relevance to it. They don't find relevance. There's no point in having a brilliant idea. We told them, if your friend supported your idea, then you have to SMS your group name and then your friend's name and the mobile number and SMS it to us. So the first one that come in with 100 SMS will get a mystery prize, So that's where Maxis came into the whole picture.
Okay, let's talk about Maxis in a minute. What kind of ideas did young people come up with? Just give us a few examples.
I think there are 2 very interesting examples that I can quote here. One is the idea name is actually Birds and Bees. This idea came from a group of 10 girls, and these 10 girls came from the state of Kelantan. That means the East Coast state. Now, in Malaysia, the East Coast people are more being perceived as very conservative, no topics like sex, drugs. So we were very cautious when we approached them. But when we asked them, so what's your big idea? And you know what they told us in one straightforward statement? We want to teach our parents on how to talk to their kids about sex.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, and then we asked them, where are you from again? We're from Kelantan. Okay, you're from the East. One thing that I think we can take away from here to learn here today is that, look, youth have these ideas in them. Youth have things they want to tell. It's how we become part of their conversation by helping them be it as an enabler or as a supporter. So after that, we asked them, this is just an idea, right? So what do you want to do? They said, look, my dad flew back from overseas trip, and from the airport to the house, it takes at least 1.5 hours. So during that journey back to the house, he can actually use his iPhone and he can download the app called Birds and Bees. And then there will be an option where they choose son or daughter. And then when they click at son, the title will come out, how do I talk to my son about sex tonight? And the content that's being generated are all generated from the youth perspective. They want to build a youth council that comes up with the content for this whole idea. The other idea is basically the mobile library, where a lot of students, they identified one thing, that the common problem among campus students in Malaysia is that the library system is not very well up to date. So most of the time when they go to the library, they don't really get the books that they want, and then ended up they have to go all the way back home again. So what they came up with is due to the fact that because we shared with them an app on the iPhone called Foursquare, and when they see that, oh, so if you're here, you can check in, and your friends will know that you have checked in here, right? So what they want to do was to check in the books. So if any new books that comes in, say for example, a new advertising reference that just came into the library, and once it goes through the point of sale system, the information will be sent through the server to all the advertising or all the mass comm students, and all the mass comm will receive a notification on their mobile phone, and then they can choose to make a reservation on that book. These are all ideas. What I want to say is, look, all these ideas have market traction because these ideas are very relevant to young people, and they have an automatic market access. They are not building it because they have a skill. They are building it because they saw a need in the market. So that's where all these ideas are being generated from.
So if I can summarize what the innovation module is, it's really about youth sourcing ideas for how mobile can address real issues that youth have on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So they're coming up with the ideas. So the question is how does a mobile company like Maxis fit into this picture?
Well, put it this way. For Maxis, when we're down on the grounds, when the students knows that Maxis is part of this, most of them would be thinking that, oh, if I have a great idea, Maxis would eventually fund it, right? But that is not the case, you see. Well, the case is more of how Maxis could become an enabler in terms of the idea generations and in terms of helping them to share the idea, helping these young people to tell their stories.
So you have these 2-day workshops, you generate a lot of ideas, you pick the best ones. Do you then take those ideas back to Maxis and say, here, what do you think? Have they built a process internally to take those ideas in?
Now, what happened was this. Maxis was involved in the whole process, which means their guys were actually there. They didn't reveal that they were actually from Maxis. So it was a very neutral judging. It was a very neutral review. We went through a voting process which generated about 50,000 unique click votes. We have narrowed it down to the top 10 commercial ideas. And all these commercial ideas are now being reviewed because not every idea could be pursued by Maxis, right? It's about helping these young people to elevate their whole idea and views.
It's a good project. I think that the challenge with something like this is whenever companies set up crowdsourced projects, so when they do it with young people and they do youth sourcing, the real danger is that they generate all these ideas, but they can't deliver on them. And I think, there's been companies like Dell and IdeaStorm where they generated a lot of ideas about, what people want from printers, and they haven't managed to turn that into new products, or they haven't changed their products because they had this facility, but it didn't become part of the company DNA. So how do you make that happen? A big organization like Maxis can actually, rather than just talk the talk, walk the walk, and actually implement some of these ideas, or at least use them somehow in their product and marketing.
I think, to be fair to all parties concerned, right? For example, Maxis is a commercial entity, and definitely whatever that is being decided, it has got to be a win-win situation. So the ideas that definitely they're going to pursue is going to be the ones that are going to give them leverage, as in, for example, to provide free wireless Wi-Fi access to all the students. Their login name for all the students is actually their hotlink number, which is the Maxis prepaid. The only one criteria to keep their account alive every month is for them to reload minimum of 5 ringgit. So you see, these are the kind of things that Maxis would actually tap into, and it actually helps elevate the young fella's life. Because right now, from a so-called ridiculous idea, which he thought it was ridiculous, suddenly it has become real. And it was because the brand was there helping them going through the whole path. That's where the whole engagement happens, I believe.
So that free Wi-Fi access, as long as you have a Hotlink account and you top it up regularly, was that actually an idea that came from young people?
It was entirely and purely the young people's idea. The best part was they actually brought it up to their higher authorities, which is their principal. And what their principal told them was, this is a great idea, and I will open up all my 45 campuses that is with Mara for you to implement this. So can you imagine the mileage that Maxis now have? So what they would gain in return was actually a real foothold, and they don't have to send roadshows, crew members.
Well, I imagine the great thing about this youth sourcing approach is that the product development and marketing are baked in the sense that if they launch this Hotlink linked Wi-Fi service, then already you have people who have identified themselves as fans saying, hey, I'm ready to do it. You don't need that much in terms of a marketing outlay to make this work or to launch the product. So I think that that's a real business case for companies like Maxis. It's not just product development. The marketing is baked into the product from day one because, you know, you have the people in there in the market willing to take it on.
That's precisely the point. And the best part is that this tour was done in 2 phases. And the first phase, when we did with the first 1,000 students, we recorded a 55% of market share. That means 55% of the young people out of the 1,000 are actually Hotlink users. 1.5 months later, when we go back on our phase 2, and with the same 1,000 students, we did the same survey again. Unofficially, we recorded a 82% market share for Hotlink. That means now we're recording 82% of young people using Hotlink. We actually asked them, especially those Hotlink users, do you know of any friends who switched from another telco to Hotlink after the first phase of this Mara program? 7 out of 10 of them said yes.
When you did this project, you said that around 55% of the people were Hotlink users. Of the 1,000 that were you surveyed, after the project, ad hoc basis, you say that's increased to about 82%. And you say 7 out of 10 people that you talk to know people who have switched. I think you're saying these are people not just in that 1,000 that they know who have switched. These may be people outside of the 1,000. Right, okay.
Yes.
So what's happening is from a small base of people you've involved in a dialogue, they're influencing a larger base of people because they're now motivated to tell people about Hotlink, or they're motivated to have some kind of affiliation with that brand?
I think they are motivated to tell people about the program that Hotlink supported. And because when they're telling about the program, the brand affiliation happens. The whole engagement in the mind was there, you see. So I think it's very much about winning heart share.
Would it be true to say is that the brand affiliation is not somebody saying, you know, I love Hotlink or I love Digi? It's a case of, you know, I love this project, and that happens to be a Hotlink project.
When you talk about fans for Hotlink and fans for, say, Justin Bieber is different. Fans for Justin Bieber will say, I love Justin Bieber. But fans for Hotlink will never declare openly and very excitedly, I love Hotlink, you know. They won't do that, right? So you have to know how to identify the influencers, and then from that influencers transform them into real fans of the brand or the product, right? So this is where I think the programs works very well.
It's very interesting insight, Bernard. I think what's coming out of that is with products which are intangible, like a mobile service, people don't declare undying love for it like they would for somebody like Justin Bieber as an example. But where you actually touch that person, such as in a project where they can actually see the company through what it does and what it supports through, for example, the innovation module, that is what they have an affiliation to, because it actually is a real factor in their lives. Whereas a brand logo and a bill every month isn't a touch point in their lives.